So, Reverend Willa Barber Johnson, our Love Light Beacon, is going to speak on Grow Your Good.
Yes.
Please welcome Willa.
Thank you, Kathy. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
The Love Light Beacon. Kind of like that. I've been called other things. I like the Love Light Beacon. Oh, I'm so delighted to be here today for a variety of reasons. I want to first acknowledge a couple folks. Reverend Carol, you have it going on with the PowerPoint thing. Thank you so much for all you do with that. I so appreciate it. And managing the sound and everything else, and Kathy, the various roles you...
And I want to thank John for his tutoring of me in that.
Wonderful. We all benefit from tutors and teachers. And yes, beautiful. And I was, and I walked in the door and I'm greeted with love. And wherever I am here, I'm greeted with love. And I'm almost inclined to say perhaps you should pass the offering basket after John and the blessed yous have blessed us. Yet I'm a minister, and I have something to say. So we're not going to pass the offering basket, yes. And thank you for blessing us. Who'da thunk about Peggy Lee? Who'da thunk? I was delighted to find that out about her being a metaphysician. So I was here in early January, and I was delighted to launch your theme for the year, which is Living in the Sacred Vision. And I was delighted to be here on the first Sunday of the month, and your theme for January is Sacred Beginnings. And I'm delighted as well, again, to bookend January on the last Sunday of the month, as we end the month of Sacred Beginnings and move into the next month, and you'll know that theme sometime soon. And the Love Light bookend. Sorry, just kind of went somewhere with that. And so I'm thrilled to be here today to share with you what is coming up for me. And it's amazing, this thing called ministry. And this thing called life. When we say yes, it's amazing what shows up. It really is. And that's going to be kind of what we're talking about today. So I want to say a little bit about, before I say a little bit about that, I want to say that for those of you who are here on the first Sunday of this month, you may recall that my topic was becoming the what. And because if we're going to live in the sacred vision, we have to have a sense of what that vision is. So I spoke to becoming the what, tapping into that what is Spirit's highest idea for our life. And I'm not going to go into that talk because I have a certain amount of minutes here and I want to bring you something new. And I wanted to remind you that the talks of everyone who comes here and speaks is posted on the Home of Truth website. So you can always visit that and listen to the talks and hear what has been said, get the teachings in a different way, that we all bring it differently. And they're great reminders. So I wanted to put a plug out there because I've actually really enjoyed not only listening to my own talks as they help me to strengthen and grow as a teacher and a speaker, yet also my brothers and sisters who get to share this pulpit with me. It's a delightful way to get something and to be blessed by others as well, whether we're in the room at the time or not. So I want to share with you a little bit about Metaphysics 101 because we're metaphysicians. And John and the bless yous actually sang this. There is one life, there is one love, there is an infinite presence, I am one with God. That is Metaphysics 101. We are created out of the seed of pure potentiality that is God. And that seed has unlimited, infinite possibility. We come from it. Our God is our good. We are divine attributes of this living one. The seed that God is in us. So we have within us everything necessary and required to grow and live in and as the most magnificent vision that we can see and know and believe for us. Metaphysics 202, what we think what we put our attention on, becomes larger in our experience. Any of you taken that class? You've experienced that in your life? What we put our focus on becomes larger in our experience. And life requires us for its magnificent expression. You know, life is an upward spiral. It didn't come here, God didn't just come here, Spirit or whatever word you want to use, didn't just come here to do one thing. Well, actually, I guess it did. And its one thing is to expand into its fullest, most magnificent possibility. So it continues to expand. So it expands through us. And we expand into it by becoming the what that we are called into becoming. That was kind of fancy-dancy with the words, but I'll break that down and hopefully it'll help to make sense. How much good can we experience? As much as we can see. As much as we believe we deserve. As much as we know is possible. As much as we're willing to experience. That's how much good we can experience. The topic that I'm bringing today is grow your good. And I actually wanted to change it to growing your good, but I didn't want to ask someone to make a change at the last minute, because growing is active and continual. So we're always growing something. And those of you who have heard me speak before have heard me say that some folks say it's all good, yet it doesn't always look good or it doesn't always feel good. So you would never really hear me say it's all good. Well, I'm here to confess that I have changed my mind. You're the first people I have shared this with. I have a little humility with it. It is all good. Doesn't always look good. Doesn't always feel good. It doesn't always come invited consciously into our lives or wrapped prettily. Sometimes it's just dumped or even thrown at us, and it's all good. I realized in me saying that it isn't necessarily all good that I had judgment, that there was a judgment in that. And the difference between a weed and a flower is a judgment. There's purpose in weeds. I prefer flowers. There's purpose in weeds. So we're the gardeners of our lives. And yes, change our thinking and change our lives. True. And it's more than that. Because it's more than our thoughts that are creating our reality. It's also our mental, it's our emotional, and it's our physical energies. It's all of those combined that become this vortex that pulls us into the experience that is created by the combination of those things. And like an iceberg, most of the iceberg, only 20% or so of the iceberg is visible. Most of the other stuff is invisible. So most of what we're operating with as we're walking through this thing called life is at the unconscious level. It's at the unconscious level. Ask me how I know. Well, I'm about to tell you a little bit. A little bit. Many of you have heard that when I was licensed as a minister about a year and a half ago, the day I was licensed, my mom was diagnosed with cancer. Well, golly, where was the good in that? And throughout that time, as my mom walked through the experience of cancer, I found myself having attachments to how I thought she should be walking the walk. What I thought she should be doing or not doing, and how I thought she should be doing it. And I was attached to those thoughts. And it created conflict within me physically, and within my interactions with my mother. It affected how I showed up for her. It affected how I spoke to her. And I'm grateful that I had an awareness and also a practitioner that I meet with regularly that helped to call me up and out, helped me to see my stuff in a way that gave me the opportunity to make a different choice. And so my mom walked this walk through cancer for about 9.5 months, which is interesting because that's kind of the gestational time. And we're almost at the 9-month point since she made her transition, which is interesting as well. And once I decided to let go of how I thought she should do it, and I became the what that I wanted to experience with my mama, the garden began to bloom more fully. And the blooms were more fragrant and beautiful. She still did what she did. I didn't necessarily like it or agree with it, yet it was her life, it was her choice. See, we all do it differently. I don't know about you, but a lot of the times that my panties get in a wad, that when I get all messed up, it's because I have an attachment, a judgment about how I think someone should be doing something or when they should be doing it or what they, it's me. And wherever I go, there I am. So the place to do the work is here on the inside. And once I made the decision to change up how I was going to show up with my mother, I changed. And the last months of her life were beautiful and graceful. And I got to be at her bedside when she made her transition. And it was a mighty walk. And it grew me. And it stretched me. And in that which looked ugly and felt yucky, there was great beauty and joy. So, once I got clear on the what that I wanted to experience and declared the what, spoke it, and then I became the what by being it and bringing it, my thinking, my emoting, my energetic frequencies all were in alignment. And there was that vortex to bring into form that experience with my mother. I've also shared with you recently that I left the church I had been at for about 4 years, and seldom, I don't think ever really, I've left something without knowing what I was going to. And I had a sense for a while that I was to leave that community, and I resisted it. I loved that community, loved it. I've been there since the first day they started. I loved it, and I resisted it, and I found myself clinging and holding on, and what I realized is that it was because I was afraid. I was afraid because I didn't know what the what was. I didn't know what I was to step into. And as I found myself doing the dance of resistance and surrender, and I'd make up the decision, oh no, I'm going to stay, I'm going to stay, I'm going to stay, I could feel the energy of that, and the energy of that was constricting and restricting. And what I know is that constriction and restriction create affliction, and that shows up in our body, our physical body, and the body of our affairs. Now, I did not create my mother's experience of cancer. My mother may have had a part in that. I got to create how I walked through it with her. I realized that I had unconscious beliefs with the idea around leaving my church that came up that was like, oh, I can't do that, I don't know enough, I got to stay here in my safe, comfortable place. And once I was able to kind of delve into what was going on and realize that I was stuck in my head about and attached to a form, I had to see what it was going to look like before I could go to it. Once I let that go and decided to kick fear curbside and put courage in the driver's seat, I spoke the word and said, I'm leaving. And that's been almost 3 months now. I don't know the what in form, and things are coming my way. Things are popping. I'm in alignment. I can feel it physically. I can feel it emotionally. I'm doing my work to bring that iceberg up to the conscious level so I can become more aware of that which gets in the way of me growing the greatest good that longs to express through me. It so desires to express through us. You know, it's like that's, I guess, I don't know, maybe that's why the labor and delivery coach tells the mother not to resist, not to clinch, not to, constrict, because this life wants to rush through. So life is rushing through. I can feel it right now. It's rushing through, and I'm so excited about it without, and every now and then fear, uncertainty, and doubt, they get in the car with me. They do. And they might even drive for a little bit. But it's not the long drive it used to be. It's not the long drive it used to be. We know that there's a power for goodness in the universe. We know that God is good and that Spirit desires and requires us for the expanding experience and expression of good. And this good grows in the most amazing places. I love the picture that Reverend Carol had up earlier of the lotus. And that's actually like my totem flower. Is there such a thing as a totem flower? I know there's a totem animal. And that animal is the hummingbird, and perhaps you can figure out why that is. But the totem flower for me is the lotus. And the reason it is because the lotus, for those of you who don't know, it starts out in the dark, in the mud, in the gunk, in the funk, in the stuff, in the muck. And it's got to go through all sorts of stuff. It doesn't just, it goes through all sorts of stuff to be able to come up and blossom and bloom. And so good can't help but grow. You've seen, I'm sure, at times when there'll be this most amazing flower that grows in the middle of the street, out of a crack. Or even, I was at the beach a while ago, and there's these flowers growing out of the sand. Who would have thought that flowers would grow out of sand? Who would think that out of the experience of someone having a terminal illness, that healings could happen in family relationships? Who would have think that someone who got laid off from the job they've been at for 20 or something years would then be able to step into their joy and their passion and live a magnificent life, even more so than before, even though they made less money? Who would think that the drug addict or the criminal who then gets sent to prison, who then becomes clean and sober and transforms their lives and becomes a motivational and inspirational speaker and continues to transform and change other people's lives? Good grows out of everything. 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 I know it. I know it. Who would have think that a woman going through 8 unsuccessful pregnancies would then have the opportunity to raise 3 siblings? Me. That was me. My youngest turns 19 tomorrow. While I was going through it, I didn't know it. I couldn't really see the good. We can either go ahead or we can go in reverse. Sometimes we can't see the good, yet it's there, and it will be revealed to us. And the only way it comes to us is by coming through us. It's by right of consciousness, and it's by creating the space, emotionally, physically, energetically, for the thing to grow. We're the gardeners. What are we fertilizing the seeds with? Doubt, fear, uncertainty? Shame, blame, resentment? It's going to grow something. Are we fertilizing with love, with compassion, with forgiveness, with trust, with hope, with faith That's going to grow something too. We're growing our good. What is the good that we want to experience in our life? You know, one of the things that I've shared with you before is that I realized after my mother's passing that I had this loyalty to her suffering for so much of my life. That loyalty served me in some way. I used to have a superhero cape that I wore, metaphorically speaking. Raising my kids, I had a superhero cape. That cape is not only put in the closet, it is boxed up, shrink wrapped, and sent somewhere else. My kids are doing it their way. There's good in how they're doing it. I may want something different. I may wish it was happening faster. And they're really glad I've hung up the superhero cape because it allows them to rise up. It allows them to see their good and to know their good and to show their good. Everyone does it differently. I love that. Everyone does it differently, and each and every one of us is giving and being and doing 100% of the most and the best we have in every moment. Gosh, when I remember that, it shifts things with people in my life. It really shifts things. It's how we view what shows up and what we do with what shows up that determines the bountifulness of our garden. When we get attached to form, we limit the unlimited potentiality and possibility of God's greatest idea for our lives. As we let go of the form, the space is created for the good to flow through in the ways that our heart and soul is calling it to flow. So how much good can we experience? As much good as we can see. As much good as we can be, as much good as we can know, as much good as we can show. We are spiritual translators. We can take what shows up. Some of us seem to get more stuff than other people. And maybe not. And we can take what shows up and we can use it and squeeze all the juice out of it and allow it to feed us and transform us. You know, we can lift it to shift it. We can lift our consciousness. We can lift our thoughts. We can lift our words. We can lift our energy. We can lift our feet and take some action. Oh, I don't want to. I'm afraid. I must stay here. I must stay in bed. I don't know. Get up. Make a call. Boom. Something wonderful happens. We're the gardeners of our life, and there's no judgment. We get to grow whatever kind of garden we want. I'm going for a bountiful one. A bountiful one. Bountiful one. And my sense is you are too. We are more powerful than we even know. So my call to action today. The invitation is to invite you to be attentive. Attentive to what you're thinking, to how you're feeling, to what you're doing. Again, it's the emotional, energetic, and physical energies that align and are creative and causative. We can reassign to realign in order to redefine the good we desire to see. We are shape shifters and experience changers. Someone else may not do the change. We wish they did. We change, it changes. And lastly, and certainly not leastly, give thanks for everything. For everything. For everything that shows up. It's been brought into your life for a reason. It's been brought into your life for good. You may wish it wasn't there, yet there's something in it that's magnificent and that will bless you and those you're interacting with and transform your life in ways that you could never imagine or plan or plan. One of my favorite quotes is from Mary Manna Morrissey: gratitude invokes the law of increase. Appreciation is the divine multiplier. So may you move forward from this day with a heart overflowing from with gratitude, seeing through the lens of gratitude, through the heart of gratitude, feeling through the love of gratitude. May you give thanks for everything that is and everything that is not. Because gratitude magnifies the good that is in your life now and multiplies that's on the way. May you use your power for expanding goodness in your life, in the lives of others, and in the world. Thank you so much. Peace and blessings.